New numbers show immigration agents in Colorado rounding up a lot of people without criminal records.
As ICE ramps up its efforts, its ability to target people with criminal convictions goes down.
Denver police want to stop disciplining officers who do wrong, opting for education instead. 3 years after voters approved a new legal high, Denver gives the go-ahead to a place to use magic mushrooms.
So there's a lot of firsts, and we're making history.
And a Colorado keeping an old art alive, now celebrating a national championship. That's tonight on Next. ICE says it arrested nearly 250 people in a targeted operation in the Denver area last week. Yet ICE only released 8 of their names for us to fact-check their claim that all of the people they arrested have criminal records. Where we do have hard numbers on ICE arrests, we see immigration agents rounding up a high number of people with no criminal record. Our Marshall Zellinger has a closer look.
Immigration enforcement in Denver's area of responsibility includes Colorado and Wyoming. Data released by ICE shows that since President Trump took over, 2,200 people were arrested. That's almost 5 times as many people from the same time frame the year before. A closer look at the data shows that 1/3 of those arrests, 702, had no criminal history. On June 11th, Congressman Gabe Evans was one of 6 Republican Hispanic conference members to send this letter to ICE, saying they're concerned, quote, "Your limited resources may be stretched to pursue individuals that do not constitute an immediate threat to public safety. We need to give absolute priority to every violent offender. Diverting limited resources to other objectives puts our national security at risk." In the 2 weeks after Evans sent that letter to ICE, 42% of the people arrested had no criminal history.
As ICE ramps up its efforts, its ability to target people with criminal convictions goes down.
Chloe East is an associate economics professor at CU Denver. She researches ICE arrests and the impact on job opportunities for U.S.-born workers.
If construction companies aren't able to find workers for the construction sites, they're going to build fewer homes and they're going to hire fewer architects, they're going to hire fewer electricians. And architects and electricians are jobs that are typically taken by U.S.-born workers.
The Trump administration's goal had been 3,000 arrests per day nationwide. The data we received from ICE showed about 710 per day. Yet earlier this month, border czar Tom Homan said the goal is going to be 7,000 a day.
If that is the future goal of ICE, we should anticipate many, many more people without criminal convictions being caught up in immigration enforcement.
I reached out to both Congressman Gabe Evans' office and to ICE to see if ICE ever responded to that letter essentially saying, stop arresting those without criminal histories. And for those without criminal histories that are arrested, I asked Evans, should they be released? I asked ICE, are they ever released? No response.
And when we talk about people who do have criminal records, right, that can mean a lot of different things, right? President Trump said they were going to go after the worst of the worst, that I assumed would be like, I don't know, murderers, rapists, like violent criminals. But you could say criminal record for somebody who like got popped for a Dewey 20 years ago.
Right. The highest arrestee in 2025 and I believe 2024 in the same time frame was DUI. And the question is that someone you should be focusing on? And DUI can mean many things. It could be as simple as you were pulled over and you were caught being drunk, and it could also be something more serious where you injured someone or someone's property. And so there is also debate about whether or not that is considered worst of the worst.
Again, when we get the information, then we can give it out to people and people can say, oh, I like it, I don't like it, I'm not sure how I feel about that. But when we don't have the information, that's when it gets tough, because then you just have to wonder what's going on in secret. All right, Marshall, thank you. As Republicans in Congress pass a temporary tax break on overtime pay, Democrats in Colorado have found a way to keep collecting income tax on OT. That's leading to a lawsuit from a conservative group. The Trump-backed federal budget bill allows hourly workers to exempt up to $12,500 of overtime pay from federal taxes. But this year, Democrats in Colorado's legislature added a provision to a state tax bill that allows the state to keep collecting a 4.4% income tax on overtime. The bill's sponsors have said the state could not risk losing that tax revenue since the state's already operating on a tight budget. Today, the conservative group Advance Colorado filed a lawsuit challenging that law, arguing that the tax change qualifies as a tax hike and therefore should be subject to a public vote through Colorado's Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Advance is asking a court to toss out the law and to keep the Department of Revenue from collecting any taxes on overtime pay. Denver's independent monitor, which oversees DPD, has major problems with the police department's proposed discipline model, which would allow some officers accused of policy violations to go through training rather than face punishment. Denver Police Chief Ron Thomas has proposed a new model called Education-Based Discipline, EBT. He wants to offer targeted training to officers facing discipline for quote-unquote low-level policy violations. He says several other large police departments around the country have successfully implemented this and that the training would help the department resolve discipline cases faster. But this week, Denver's independent police monitor, Elizabeth Perez Castle, told City Council her office does not support the plan. Castle's office monitors investigations into complaints against the officers, and she thinks the switch to education-based discipline will just allow officers to sidestep investigations and accountability.
This is a not-so-veiled attempt to eliminate accountability for officers and the Office of the Independent Monitor. If you remove our review function, you have the police policing themselves.
Chief Thomas told our partners at the Gazette that the proposed training would, quote, help officers understand their mistakes while teaching them the proper method to handle the issue if they encounter it in the future. The chief also says the independent monitor's office gave them 28 recommendations on the new policy and that they're down with 24 of them. They've implemented them. The 3 years since Coloradans legalized psilocybin have been a long, strange trip. Only this week did Denver issue its first license for a psilocybin healing center. Our Evan Krugel stopped by to talk about misconceptions and reality.
Some of these are yoga mats. There's also blankets here.
Opening a new business often requires new decor.
100%. Everything from the discs on the wall, every piece of artwork was selected purposely and with intention, just like a journey, right?
Journeys are what Elizabeth Cook specializes in at the Center Origin off Blake Street in Denver.
We administer psychedelic medicine, specifically psilocybin.
Wednesday, the center became the first healing center to receive a license from the city of Denver.
It was a huge milestone, and it's another historic time because we received the very first Denver license.
Elizabeth is now hoping to set the record straight about what will actually happen here.
This isn't just for people to come in and party. This is really a model for treatment, for real therapy.
Facilitators who administer psilocybin have to go through 150 hours of classroom work and 40 hours of work in a healing center before they can ever touch the mushrooms behind these doors.
So we built this little wall, put on this, lock. We have a safe in there, and we have cameras on the inside that cover the entire space.
Clients will have to consume the psychedelics at the center, where a facilitator will remain with them through the entire trip, which can last 5 to 7 hours.
Some people think that you can come in and buy them and then just leave, as opposed to, and that doesn't work. Everything has to go through an administration session here at the center.
Elizabeth knows people will continue to have questions. She says her line is always open as she tries to pave the way for safe journeys in Denver.
I'm happy to be responsible in this space and to pave the way. I think we know how to do it. We've got a great brand and we've got a great model, and so we're happy to take the lead.
Now, treatments at this center will not be cheap. An individual journey will cost $3,500, but they are offering cheaper options for people who are willing to work with someone who's in training or to participate in a group session. Kyle, one reason those prices are so high, state licensing in this industry costs thousands of dollars. The state says they had to do that to regulate an industry with no taxable sales revenue since, as she mentioned, you can't just walk in and buy mushrooms and walk out.
Evan, you've done a great job explaining this to us because I think so many people just know the cannabis model, right? Everybody knows the cannabis model, but as you said, you're not just going to stroll into your neighborhood shroomery and walk out with products.
Right, it's such a different ballgame here, entirely different industry. That's why we're seeing those higher prices compared to cannabis, where everybody was trying to offer as low as they could to get people in the door. Really different ballgame here, very different regulations as we start to see this unfold in Denver and across the state.
Evan Krugel, thank you very much. Xcel is investigating tonight after a gas fire today. Look at that, injured workers. Next, viewers wondering about Denver's saddest looking park, as well as its namesake.
It's an art form, it's an expression, it's also caring for that cherished item.
And a shoe shiner, keeping a lost art alive in Colorado, winning national recognition for his work. Also, how about that head of lettuce? We'll be right back. A gas line explosion injured 5 workers in Johnstown this morning and produced a gotta look twice image. Xcel Energy says it was working with a contract company at a gas regulator station along Highway 60 when a gas release caught fire. Front Range Fire briefly evacuated a few homes nearby and quickly put out that fire. 5 workers went to the hospital. They're all expected to be okay. A couple of vehicles and a small building were damaged. The fire did not reach any homes. Massive budget cuts at the Department of Energy could lead to another round of layoffs at the National Renewable Energy Lab in Golden. More than 100 staffers were already laid off at NREL earlier this year. Politico reports the Department of Energy is considering laying off as many as 3,000 scientists and staff due to a reduction in their budget. According to Politico's reporting, NREL could lose up to a third of its staff, leading to major delays in wind and solar research. Energy Secretary Chris Wright, former oil and gas guy from Colorado, has repeatedly said he needs to right-size his department to lower energy costs. Here's what he said during a tour of the NREL campus back in April.
This is, of course, the hardest part. This is the hardest part of my job. In the last 4 years when I walked in, the headcount in the Department of Energy grew 20%. So 20% growth in the government, and mostly what we got out of it was a little bit more restrictions in energy production around the country. That is an ongoing process. We are midstream on that. But frankly, it would be downright irresponsible if we weren't doing this.
NREL's renewable energy focus has already been under pressure as the Trump administration cuts back on green energy spending. Instead, the federal government's pitched building AI data centers and power plants on NREL land.
Hi there, I'm tracking slow-moving thunderstorms with the potential for heavy flooding rain and severe weather with hail, lightning, and flooding in Weld County tonight. Temperatures comfortable again today in the 70s and 80s, but that's enough of that. We're back to sunshine and 90s tomorrow. We've had reports of hail and flooding in Greeley, flash flooding and severe weather up in Cheyenne at Cheyenne Frontier Days, and we have severe thunderstorm warnings for Fort Morgan, Keensburg, and Byers. These out for at least another half hour. A lot of water coming in, and we're also seeing pea to marble sized hail and some gusty thunderstorm wind gusts of 50 and 60 miles per hour. Because of the flood threat over southern Colorado, a flood watch remains in effect for the San Luis Valley and Walsenburg, Trinidad down to the Raton Pass through 9 o'clock. The showers will move through Denver in the next 2 hours, so we'll get a little bit of clearing. There may be some stratus and fog for those of you driving late tonight or early tomorrow, but we're off and running to a sunny and drier day tomorrow with only a 20% chance of rain. So a shift in the weather pattern starts tomorrow as we go to sunshine and 90, mid-90s Saturday, and then hot and dry near 100 Sunday and Monday. Chance for a little bit of moisture to come in with thunderstorms into Tuesday, and then we have a cooler weather trend with highs in the upper 70s and lower 80s for the middle part and end of next week.
Tonight's next question is about Denver's saddest looking park. Henry wants to know why the Phil Milstein Park on the Platte River Trail is so poorly kept. Henry said, "What'd Phil ever do to deserve this?" Well, let's take a look. Yeah, that doesn't look great. That is Phil Milstein Park on the Platte River Greenway along 6th and I-25. It is small and shabby looking. One picnic bench, one table, and some dead patches of grass. This was originally like this very sweet surprise gift for a civil engineer named Phil Milstein. He was a founding member of Downtown Denver, Inc. He served on Denver City Council. He worked on the City Planning Board. He was such a big deal in civic circles that when he left the Platte River Valley Development Committee in 1987, the committee gave Phil his own space on the Greenway. At the time, the Greenway newsletter said it, quote, promises to be one of the Greenway's most beautiful parks. And now you're doing my man Phil like that. The park is in line for some improvements as part of a larger series of projects along the trail. It's a multi-year plan to expand the trail, add some vegetation, new bridge that'll connect Phil Milstein Park to the rest of the South Platte River Trail. Maybe we spend a few bucks and spruce it up for Phil. Send us your next question. Anything about anything in Colorado that catches your eye, because you can't be the only one who's wondered. We welcome written questions, video questions, audio, however you want to be on the show, send it our way. Email next@9news.com or text next 303-871-1491. If shining shoes is a sport, this guy is the national champ.
Going to Disney World, baby. Nah, going to Casa Bonita.
That feels appropriate. Pull up a seat, put your feet up. We're gonna learn from the best. Shoe shine champ, next. You know, there's an old phrase that goes something like, whatever you are, be the best at it. A shoe shiner in Colorado is just that. Just won him national recognition.
It's an art form, it's an expression. There's some shoe shiners out there that feel that they're at a certain point that they don't really need to learn much more, but I think I'm still learning every day. I'm Jason Dorne, I'm a shoe shiner of Denver. You know, I get lost in it. You go on a journey with each shine. Hey, how are you? But it was a total spontaneous moment in 2011 that led to an opportunity to shine shoes full time. And there was a vacant shoe shine chair. So I'm sitting up there daydreaming of getting an opportunity to shine someone's shoes when somebody walks up to me, makes eye contact, I greet him immediately, get him up in the seat, start fumbling my way through the shoe shine, not being a shoe shiner at DIA, but acting like it. I took 3 more customers, hopped on my flight. I kind of was like, man, this is fun. I could do this for a living. You know, it beats selling shoes kind of thing. One of my goals in the last 5 years was to win a shoe shine competition. And this year I was chosen to compete.
Shiners, 15 minutes. Let's go.
But for me, it was definitely a goal of mine. It's something that, you know, I've been striving for and training for over the last 5+ years being a shoe shiner, trying to achieve the best mirror shine in 20 minutes that I can possibly do.
3, 2, 1. Good job, you guys. Good job.
And to win that competition was, for me, very validating.
What do you do now?
Going to Disney World, baby. Nah, going to Casa Bonita. You know, it's kind of like a dog chasing a car. Once you catch it, what do you do with it? It's something that I am wholeheartedly investing my future in and not turning back.
Good for him. There is nothing like a good shoe shine. Marilyn, what's the feedback about tonight?
I'll give you one guess.
We'll talk about my jacket next. Feedback from John says, wife and I are having a heated debate on your jacket. I'm saying it's seersucker. My wife argues it's just linen. Please save me and let me know I am right. John, you should know by now it is your wife who is always right. It's linen. It's not seersucker. But thanks to everybody who wrote in with feedback tonight on the jacket. I wish I could read all your feedback, but I'll try to get in all your names. Matt, Ryan, Tom, Frank, Nancy, Breck, Tim, Judy, Sue, Jason, Paul, another Tom, Jacqueline, Lori, John, Sean, Michelle, Susan, Grant, Douglas, Carol, Bruce, another Nancy, Adam, Virginia, Sandy, Jeff, Dan, Patrick, Sam, Kim, Finn, Thea, Dawn, and Elizabeth. See you next time.